Hey everybody, it's Adam again and welcome back to my garage. You ever drive down the road and pull up next to somebody and you see that they got almost a completely dark wheel rim and a bunch of rust particles sprayed down the side of their car? Well, that exact thing happened with our 2019 Yukon. I went out of town for the last 2 weeks. The day I was leaving, I got a text from my wife just as I'm getting on the airplane saying, "Hey, the brakes are making a grinding noise." Well, we're gonna dig into that grinding noise today. We're actually going to do a full brake job on this truck. We're about 100,000 miles. Time to swap out the brakes. Everything else was fine, but this one up front here. So we're going to go ahead and do that today. And the cherry on top is we're going to add some special brake pads to this. Come along for the ride. Never thought I'd be one of these people with rust and stuff all down the side of the car here, but here we are. And it goes to show you, it only takes a week or two to get something that looks like this after something inspects just fine a couple weeks ago. So I'm hoping we'll be able to get that rust off down there as well. We'll take a look at how hard this is on here. I mean, it's pretty well adhered to the surface, so I'm hoping we don't have any yellowing down there. We're going to clean all that off today here as well. In case you're wondering about Project XTI E36, she's still out here waiting for her turn. We're gonna hit this in the wintertime here, so I gotta get the barn cleaned out. Currently got the Sonoma up on jacks. Trying to get the transmission squared away on that with the slave cylinder swap. So just be patient with me, but this will be coming up here this winter. Now she does feel kind of rough here. It's not exactly frozen, but it's not exactly moving. Well, I guess it kind of unlocked there. But there's a lot of crunching and weird noises going on. I'm excited to see what we got behind here. So while we're looking at the brakes, I'm going to go ahead and scrub some simple green onto the rims here. Hopefully that'll help knock loose some of the rust particles and the dust that's on there as well. Also going to do that down on the running board here. And by the time we're done with this, it should have soaked long enough. It'll be something that will come right off when we go wash the car later. Get a little scrub here. Already starting to come off. That's good. So that's the loose brake dust. What I'm getting at is this really gnarly stuff that's going to be stuck down between the edges here. We'll let that soak for a little bit and hopefully she'll clean right up. So this is an 18 millimeter size here. Once you get these two off, you should be able to pull the, well, once we get them off, there we go. Nope. Yeah. Once we get them off, we should be able to pull the caliper back, hang it up over here, and then we'll peel that rotor off of there. Good news is I can see that there's still a pad down in there, so what we're using on the pad, I guess we'll find out. What's left of it at least. Oh boy, oh man. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on behind the pads here. So this was the backing plate on the inside pad. Pretty rusted out actually, and actually crinkled up in there too. So looks like we had quite a bit of movement on here. I wouldn't say it was constant. It was probably more of a rubbing because we would have, rubbed some holes through this, I think. This would be the inside pad. So you can see that inside pad all the way down to the metal. and basically no friction material left on there. And you can also see that it was getting very, very hot because the color's on here too. It's a nice rainbow color, and I may put this one up on the Wall of Fame as an unfortunate example of the longest I think I've ever seen a pad on one of my vehicles go. Granted, we've only had this vehicle for about 10,000 miles, so I'm thinking it was pretty well worn down by the time we got it. But man, that's a pretty sight, but not something you want to be driving around with. And let's look at the outside pad. Outside pad, really we got about maybe 1.5 millimeters, 2 millimeters worth of friction material left. It was time for this guy to be changed out too. I guess the good news is between the two pads here, you know, having a little bit more on the outside there, it's not like one was completely worn much more than the other. This one had to be changed. Obviously this one did as well. But look at the thickness of the material. So yeah, we pretty well wore her down right to the base metal. And it's a good thing we're swapping these out. Yeah, oh boy, inside here, look at that. So that means we got to get a new caliper. That's pretty gnarly right there. You can see that it wore through the sleeve on the piston here. Since we'll be hanging on to this truck for a while, and even if we weren't hanging on to it, it would be something that we'd want to fix anyways. Let's see if it's stuck here. Not stuck on that side. Actually, both sides. It's pretty good shape. All right, let's look on the back side of the rotor here. Yep, you can see that she was really gouged up pretty bad. That's what you get when you've got the metal on metal there. As for the meat though, still quite a bit of meat on this one, but she's done. Everything else back around here, we got some rust particles and so forth up inside here, but from a wheel bearing perspective, everything seems fine there. Just means that we got to go do this, and we're gonna have to bleed this brake caliper today. All right. Al took the parts runner car down to the local O'Reilly. They got this caliper here. It's a reman caliper. I was pleasantly surprised to see that it's pre-painted. So it's got like a gray primer on it. I do have some black caliper paint, so we'll end up painting this up just to match the other side. But this thing looks good as new here. I'll take back my other one for the core refund. And since we're talking about parts, let's talk about what we're going to put on. So I've got these AC Delco gold black hat rotors. So they come pre-painted on here. I like that because a lot of times you'll see even with a brand new rotor, if they're not painted down here, they'll end up rusting after a couple days. And the exciting thing about this job we're going to do today is I've got some police pursuit vehicle heavy duty pads. So we've got different pad material on there for more heavy duty driving. Of course, the old lady likes to wear the brake pads down and drive almost like she's in a police pursuit every time she's running the kids somewhere, or if I'm running off to church, I tend to drive a little intensely. So this will be good for pulling the camper, day-to-day driving for us with those gold AC Delco rotors. This ought to last a long time for us and give us some good stopping power. While we're waiting for that paint to dry, let's look at maybe the sequence of events that led to this. So starting out with the outside pad, as you can see, we got a little bit of pad life left on there, but not much. It was probably time to change these pads anyways. And typically you get a squeaking noise from the caliper. There's a little wear indicator on the pad, and that indicates when it's time to change the pads, but before you get down to a point where you're rubbing on metal. So I'm wondering if what happened was, with the way this thing is rusted out on here, if somehow this backing plate, which you can see on the outside, the backing plate is still well retained, but on the inside, this thing is pretty well rusted out around there. So you can see where it kind of bunched up back behind there. And I'm wondering if this came loose at some point and bunched up in there and maybe caused this pad to drag for a little while. When I pulled it off, basically it was like this. Everything fell out there. And this coming across here, I think, is what scraped into this material. So if you look close enough, you can actually see there's like a thin layer of material on the outside here, and then there's the piston on the inside. So since this caliper isn't seized up, I'll see how much it costs to get one of those pistons. Maybe I'll rebuild this one myself, but otherwise I'll end up returning this back to the store to get my core refund back on it if I can't find a piston that's a reasonable price. So it's unfortunate. I don't like to take something off that definitely is going to work for a while, but if you get salt and you get other debris down inside there, who knows what's going to happen later on if it makes its way down into the caliper and eventually locks it up. So interesting story there. Right. The pursuit vehicle seal of approval right there. Ouch. What the heck? That thing just does not want to come off. Basically, this thing was stuck right around the diameter of the threads there. She did not want to come off. But we got some new washers on this replacement caliper and we'll be good. Get this guy cranked down here and then we'll start bleeding it and then we'll go to the other side. Go ahead and push it down and hold it down, okay? Did you push it?
Yeah.
Okay, let it back. Don't push it yet. Okay, go ahead and push it. Hold it down.
It's hard.
Got it down?
Yeah.
Hold it down, okay?
I got it all the way down.
Okay, go ahead and let it back. Wait a second, I'll tell you when, okay? Push it down. Hold it all the way down. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, let it back. All right, buddy, thank you. I think we're all done. Okay, so I had Abraham in there. Go ahead and get us filled up here now. We're gonna let her back a little bit and just make sure there's no more bubbles coming out of there. There we go. I think that's good. We're going to tighten her up, get this tire back on here, and then we'll move to the other side. There we go. All right, we're gonna torque these lug nuts down and then head over to the other side. I think we're all set here. Man, this truck is giving her all she's got. So, figured the passenger side was gonna be easy. I figured wrong. I beat the heck out of this rotor with a hammer, trying to bust it off of the spindle here. So now I'm gonna resort to using these threaded holes in the rotor are here to help push off the rotor if it has ever frozen up on here. And all the trucks that I've done, which is 3 of them, these kind of the 6-bolt here on the regular 1500 GM, I've never had this issue, so we're gonna see how this goes. Oh, well, we didn't want that to happen. Time to get the hammer back out again. Well, it's time to bust out the old hot wrench here. So we're gonna heat it up around here, not too much, just enough though to maybe she'll break her loose. I got a little PB blaster on there too. We'll see if that penetrates here, and we'll see what happens. Well, we're gonna let this soak all good and stuff here and turn our attention to the back, and hopefully by the time we're done with the back, this will have enough soak time with the PB blaster there. Fingers crossed. Boy, now the rear end is giving me trouble. I got the parking brake is released on here, but the shoes are dragging inside there. Had to resort again to using these bolts, but managed, I think, to get it loose now. So hopefully this will be quick. Yeah, looks like it was at the expense of this little clip down here, but I think we'll be okay. As long as I can, there we go. There's this little spring. So we'll have to piece this back together, but the shoes look all right. Hallelujah. All right, got the passenger side and the driver's side rear done. We got to go turn our attention back to that passenger front. We got the gear puller tightened up on here. It's pulling a little bit of tension on that. Soaked up some PB blaster for the last hour or so. Might need to go longer than that, but we're gonna go ahead and whack away. Watch out, buddy. Watch out. Hallelujah. Wow. Well, there's the evidence that I beat the hell out of this thing. Probably no salvaging this now. I'll just leave it on the driveway for the next 15 years or so. Man, oh man, oh man. That was crazy. She was definitely on there tight. We're gonna clean this up before we put on the caliper tomorrow. All right, we got the passenger side front back on here. We're gonna get the tire on, torque on all the wheels. We'll do a brake pressure check, and then we're gonna go ahead and do the bedding into the brake pads to the rotors. All right. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and bed these new pads and rotors in. And basically the procedure that I follow is you do some medium stops just to get some heat into it, maybe get up to about 35 miles an hour, slow down to about 5 miles an hour, don't stop completely, but some moderate brake pressure, and then do that probably 3-5 times, and then you go up to 55 miles an hour, and then you do a bit harder stop, not to the point of where you lock up your brakes or engage the ABS, but hard, kind of like you're stopping coming up to a red light that just switched on you. So the other thing to keep in mind after you do a full four-corner brake job like this is the first few times that you stop, make sure you got good pedal pressure, make sure the pads are engaged with the rotors, pump it up a little bit, because sometimes when you're compressing down the pistons as you go ahead to reset the brake caliper, you may not have full pad engagement, full squeeze on there. So we're gonna go ahead and do our first stop here from 35, 40 mile an hour down to 5. The important thing about doing this bedding in procedure is that you basically mate the brake pad material, the friction pad material, with the rotor itself, and you're effectively creating a bond there that helps with the ultimate braking power when you've completely done the wear and procedure. But I mean, right off the bat, these things feel nice and smooth, no chatter, no warp feeling or pulsating with the pedal, so that's all good. And again, you don't want to come to a complete stop when you're doing this, because you don't want that pad sitting on the rotor and basically baking into the surface. So that's number 3. Feels good. It gets better each time. No clunks, no rattles, nothing like that. You want to be paying attention to whether or not the vehicle starts pulling left or right, because maybe you got a caliper that's hanging up or something isn't quite right on one of the corners. But so far, this feels pretty good. We're going to do one more time, and then we're going to do some 55 mile an hour stops. Even take my hand off the wheel, and she stopped straight as an arrow. That's good. All right, now we're going to go up to 55. I love that 6.2 power on this. Here we go. You want to make sure there's no traffic around either. You don't want to be slamming on your brakes in front of people. Looks like I got a guy coming up behind me right now, so I'm going to turn down one of these side roads here. We're going to do our first 55 mile an hour stop as we come up to this turn here. And you want to step on the brake pretty good there. There we go. That felt good. The other thing you got to be careful of, you don't want to hit a stoplight where your foot is on the brake, holding the vehicle stationary for very long while you're braking it in like this. So try to avoid areas with stop signs. And put on nice and hard there. That's number 2. Number 3, well that was good. Moved the phone on me. Number 4 here. And hopefully by the time we get to the next stop sign, we'll be at number 5. There we go. That feels good. All right, man, feels awesome. The brakes on this truck always felt a little bit anemic to me, and I think it was a set of pads that they put on the second times. We bought this truck with about 87,000 miles on it, and had a little bit of pulsating in the pedal from the beginning. Here we are at 97,000 miles, and had that brake pad wear down to where it was. But with these new pads on here, this thing stops amazing. So now what we're going to do, after we've done that bedding in procedure, we're just going to go ahead and take her easy. Don't get on the brakes too hard, and just kind of drive normally. Try not to stop again, unless of course there's a stop sign or something that jumps out in front of you. It's not going to be a complete catastrophe if you've got to do a panic stop or something. So still obey the rules of the road, but ultimately, you want to get the rotors and pads now to cool down as you drive back. We're going to go ahead and drive back home and let it sit for a couple hours. And then I'm going to go take it out for a wash. This truck hasn't been washed in a while. As you can see from the outside, we want to get that rust and everything off the running boards and off the side of the truck. So after you do a couple of stops, it is normal for them to start browning up or to get a little bit of a purple look to the brake rotor. You wanted to build that heat in there. You wanted to bed some of that pad material into the rotor as well. And you'll smell a little bit as well. So a little bit of brake smell. But that's normal. Just go ahead and let her sit, let her cool down, and she'll be ready to go. All right, everything seems to be running good. We pulled it in here. We're gonna let her sit and cool down and take it for a ride later here to get all cleaned up. But I'd say this was a success. Thanks for watching. And if you liked the video, hit subscribe and like down below. Stay tuned for more fun content on the GMCs in the house, as well as the BMWs and everything else we got in the garage. Got a lot of fun stuff planned for later this year during the winter time. Thanks for watching.